It's Bend Your Ear with Ben Hartong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bend Your Ear. Today's episode is going to be a great one. I have a very special guest, so make sure to stick around so you don't miss it. But before we get to that, let's kick things off with everyone's favorite goofball. It's time for Rooney's Corner.
Hello.
Hey, Rooney, what are you up to today?
Oh, nothing much. I'm just trying to figure out why you keep having me on the show. It's like you only invite me just to make fun of me.
Wait, what? That's not true at all.
Oh, really? Because I found you secretly taping me while I was doing my impressions. Those were supposed to be secret, you know.
Hold on, wait a second. You said I was secretly filming you? You said, and I quote, "Ben, get in here. I want you to film this video for Rooney's Corner."
I do not recall that. Those are false accusations.
Really? Well, anyway, let's watch the video. I think the viewers will have a laugh.
No! I'm Colonel Sanders. Hi, guys. I'm Sanders. Oh, no, that did not happen. Hi, guys. I'm the guy from General Electric. Go to the General and take some time. Hi, I'm Texas Pete. I'm a hot sauce model. Go to get some hot sauce today. Dun, 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 dun. Hi, I'm Abraham Lincoln, 16th President of the United States. And, presidentially. Hello, I'm Guy Fieri from Donna's Droppins and Dimes. What do you, food. You see, that wasn't very nice to show everyone my impressions.
Well, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. You know today's episode is all about love.
Oh, really? 'Cause I love stuffed animals.
Well, that's good to know. I better let you go because I've got a guest to introduce. He's the founder and CEO of I Am Speak Love and the host of the One Word Wednesday podcast, which you can find on YouTube. Introducing Mr. Nick Jackson.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. How you doing?
Awesome, I'm doing great.
So, as we know when I introduced you, you were the CEO and founder of I Am Speak Love. You established this in 2016. Since then, you've been a motivational speaker for many kids and adults. I take it you've spoken all across the nation. You came to Nagel Middle School a few months back. You talked to some student athletes, myself included. So I want to ask you, why did you create this? Why did you create this movement, and what inspired you to do it?
So I was already speaking for Anthony Munoz and Chris Collinsworth and the Castellini family that own the Reds. And they started an organization called You Give, and I was like their spokesperson. I was their school coordinator and spokesperson. So I was speaking on stages with them, and they really gave me an opportunity. It was such a blessing. It was awesome. The best thing, it's the biggest gift, the nicest thing that anybody's done for me in my entire life. Like, it was just crazy. It was crazy. And then I had the opportunity from all the stuff that they gave me to start my own business. So I started Nick Jackson Speaks, and I'm Nick Jackson, and I was just speaking, you know what I'm saying? And so You Give was all about getting kids to do community service. And then as Nick Jackson Speaks went in, it was all about character, leadership, and development. In 2016, though, I got asked to do a speech at school, a local school. I don't want to say the school's name, but this school had 3 suicides, and it was around October. And so the school year had just started, so that means some students passed away in the summertime, some students passed away in the fall, and here we were. And they asked me to speak. And somebody asked me, I forgot who it was, and they're like, "So what do you want these kids to do?" Like they're in a situation where somebody just committed suicide. What do you want them to do? And I was like, I just want them to speak love to themselves. Like, if we could do anything, I want them to speak love to themselves. And so that's how I came up with the name.
Wow. Well, that is wow, that's certainly very impactful. Very, important thing to say. I can't even imagine, for you and, for the students, going through that time, right then. But, also, you go back to how it started. It was Cincinnati sports. You know, I'm a huge Cincinnati sports fan. You talk about these big names like Chris Collinsworth and Anthony Munoz, obviously star Bengals players, and then Bob Castellini, who owns the Reds. So that was really your starting point, and that's really cool and interesting to know. All right, so love is something that it's very clearly very important to you. You have expressed the values of love to many. You've also spoke about the importance of diversity and inclusion. Why is that something that's so important to you and you feel that's necessary to speak about in today's society?
Yeah, it's so funny you said that. So I just did the Anthony Munoz Leadership Conference. We did it on Zoom this year. It's different. I've done it for like the last like 12 years, and I get to keynote it. It's just such a beautiful thing. And I remember one time where I was getting ready to speak, and there was this sort of memory that came to my mind of being a little kid. Now, when I was a little kid, there was a let's just call it an altercation between my family and a group of skinheads. And I remember walking to the car, and this group of people, they were spitting at us, and they threw beer cans at my father. And I was a little guy. I was probably like 3 or 4 years old, and now it's probably like 5, because my little brother was like 1. And my mom was holding my little brother in her arms, and my dad was holding my hand. And these guys basically came out and accosted us. And I remember my dad telling me at that time to keep my mouth shut and keep walking. And I was so frustrated that my dad, didn't get mad and start fighting them, didn't throw rocks at them, didn't beat them up. My dad was in Vietnam. He was the one that scared away the boogeyman when I was a kid. Like, he was the toughest guy I've ever met. And so he taught me something different. He was like, don't get involved in that altercation. That's not you. And I was like, man, I need to teach this to other kids. And like, when I'm walking, where am I walking to? So like, I'm not going to get into a violent altercation with this group of guys, but I am going to get into this spoken word situation for everybody's child, because I'm not the only one that's been through something crazy. And like, sometimes we don't know what to do when these bad things happen. We get angry, we get frustrated, and we act as violent as the people who are coming at us. We have an opportunity to do better than that.
Wow. I mean, I can't even imagine, having to go through that as a young child, and your brother being 1 years old and your mother and father having to go through that such difficult times. But wow, I mean, this kind of leads into my next question about, treating others, with the same level as respect as you would wish to be treated. So you're talking about the importance of showing love to all. I'm going to pull something from one of your most recent episodes. You mentioned about how you were the grandson of people involved in the civil rights movement. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so you're the grandson of people involved in the civil rights movement. You mentioned about how you were confused, you were perplexed about your older generation's ability to be kind and show respect to people who weren't kind and respectful to them. So, like, as we know, obviously showing love to people with the same beliefs, the same knowledge and understanding, our friends, our family, it's very important. But why is it also important to show love and respect to people who haven't necessarily shown the same amount of respect to you?
Yeah, I know, right? That's such a great question. And it's so easy. It's so easy if someone's being disrespectful for you to fall into that level, right?
Yeah.
But what I've noticed, even when I was a kid, being a larger, loud, outspoken African-American male, there was people that were actually nervous about me just being around. They would clutch their purse when I was in the elevator. And then there was also situations where I have altercations with police, and they weren't even talking to me. They were trying their best to subdue or make sure I didn't act up, because there was people that were around me that were scared of me. They had bias against Black people. And like I had the opportunity to either join into these negative altercations and be like, you know what, I'm angry and I'm going to allow the anger to take over. Or I could teach the police officer and the people that are coming at me that there's a better way. I learned this from watching Martin Luther King. And I would ask my grandfather, who got to meet him multiple times and see him speak, right? And I would ask my uncles, like, what was it like to listen to somebody who's having dogs set out on them and fire hoses put on them, who are driving through their neighborhoods and seeing people that they know hanging from trees. So what was it like to listen to somebody who's telling you to choose love, right? And the one thing that my grandfather didn't tell me, but my mom ended up telling me later, that there's a liberation that comes from love. Like there's this beautiful thing that happens where like I don't necessarily have to physically fight you. I don't need to get into this kind of fight. I can get into this kind of fight. And when I get into this kind of fight, I'm now encouraging you to use your mind to join me, right? Now I can meet you in a violent level and we could fight with our hands. We could do that, right? Or I can meet you in an academic level. I can even meet you on a mental and spiritual level, right? That changes the whole game. And then I now am not a black person, or I'm now not a person that you're scared of. I'm now a person that you're connected to. Now, when you're connected to me, we can have a whole different conversation. And that's what ends up happening with Speak Love. Then this is character, anti-suicide, diversity, inclusion for all kids. And we've been so blessed to do so many great things. But the best thing that we've ever done was sat down at the feet of our grandparents and listened.
I mean, that's certainly very powerful. I know you mentioned a lot of this stuff when you were speaking at Nagel. I mean, wow, it's crazy. It's funny you use the word fight, fight in your mind, which it's funny as, the whole point of Speak Love, you're kind of saying you're kind of against fighting. So, switching gears, you have your own show. I was actually on your show. It's called One Word Wednesday. It's a weekly show. You invite guests on to speak about, one word. You really try to focus on this one word mainly. So can you tell the viewers at home who maybe haven't seen your show a little bit about it and what you do?
Yeah, it's so funny because you really don't really know what we're doing with One Word Wednesday. We're teaching character. So we have 52 character traits that allow us to be the best versions of ourselves. And we share that through 52 weeks of education. But we don't say like, hey guys, come to class. Like we don't do that at all. We pick one word per week. We define it on Monday. On Tuesday, we talk about why it's important. And then on Wednesday, we have a video where we interview someone that we feel like embodies this word. So this week that we just did Larry Shastiari, who's at Turpin High School. And he's the guy who cares for his kids. He runs Hope Squad for his school. And it was just such an awesome thing. And I mean, yours was really cool too. I love being able to highlight the people that sometimes we miss. Like we don't even recognize that we're amongst stars every single day. And it was just really, really cool to put the spotlight on you.
Yeah, small stars, I think to see people and kind of hear things from their perspective, and you try to pick guests that really embody that word at its finest. I think that's really awesome that you're doing that.
Sometimes we miss that these people that embody these things are heroes. We look towards our characters that we see on Black Panther and Superman. We look for people to fly. Very rarely do we see the people that walk it out every single day. Those are the heroes. Like Ben, when you talked about what you talked about on my show, like you don't recognize how many people came to me and said, wow, there's somebody else going through what I'm going through. I'm not alone. Like Ben Hartong, you are a hero. And I had the opportunity to talk to you about your heroism last week. And it was awesome.
Wow, I thank you so much. I'm honestly flattered that you say that. And you think about all these people that really, everyone's a hero, in their own way. It's not just these people doing big things. It can be people doing small things, kind of making a small impact. I really think that's what's important, is that everybody's valued and everybody's important in their own ways.
Absolutely. I mean, if you just think about just your show and how you present yourself, that's one thing. But our conversation that we had, right, when you talked about your belief system and how people in your school don't believe like you, I can tell you right now that you didn't know, right? But there was other people that are out there that feel totally alone. And because you show your heroics, they feel like heroes. They feel like they can access a hero too. I thank you.
Well, yeah, it's crazy. A lot of people, you feel like you're alone. There are so many people in the world that it's kind of like, there's no way that anybody is fighting a fight alone. Nobody's going through, something that somebody else hasn't already gone through, or some things that's going through. So it's really important, I feel like, when you're down, when I'm down. I think you just think about like everyone has gone through this at some, not everyone, but some people have gone through this at some point, and you're not alone. You're not the only one.
It's funny how we're saying this 2020. I mean, crazy year for a lot of people. It kind of fits into like you're not alone, it's all crazy. I mean, so many things have happened this year and crazy. So we go back to One Word Wednesday. You dive deep into one word and you kind of think about that one word only. So I kind of want to ask you, what word do you think, or what words do you think defines this year?
Wow. So these three words. The first one is excitement.
Okay.
Second one, revelation, and third one is community. So I live in a world where a lot of people don't respond or respect to either one of those three. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they just kind of some things are exciting, some things are not. I just know when I'm bored and I don't want to be bored. But like there is a certain excitement that comes now when we get these opportunities to connect. Like we get excited about the memories that we've had with our family, and the times that we've had that we've taken for granted, the people that we've taken for granted. Like there's an excitement now about the time when this is over, like how we're going to embrace again, how we miss that embrace and how we respect that embrace. We get excited now for the opportunities to get back together, when before it was an expectation, whatever. Revelation. So now one thing about Speak Love is like we challenge youth and adults, right, to speak love to themselves right now, no matter what the environment is. And so many times we've been in environments, we've allowed the environment to dictate our behavior and our character. Now, the environment that we're going through, we're all going through it at the same time. How are we going to behave? We have a revelation of what we're doing. I know so many people, myself included, right, that are addicted to our work. We love our work. What happens when your work shuts down? Who are you? Like you had a season that you've been training for. You're ready to go out there and run and do what you do and represent your school. What happens when the track meet's over? What's your identity without your job? What's your identity when you're a seventh grade kid and you can't go to class? You're sitting at home on a Zoom call. Who are you? These things that we've made to identify, we have allowed to identify us, like now they're being challenged. And so the excitement and the revelation are just real. And before I get into my third one, I gotta say this, and I'm gonna switch it to this, right? Like there's a thing that happens in hard times. Like there's this ability to recognize how weak we really are. I mean, we got knocked out by a cold. Like we spend $16 billion every year building our defense funds to make sure 9/11 doesn't happen again. We do that as a country every single year. And then this year we got knocked out by a cold. People are dying because of a cold. This is a whole different enemy. What's even going on? I'm protecting myself now, not by buying a gun, right? But by wearing a mask. What is that? Like it just changes our whole sense of security, right? And we have to sit back and think like, wow, like we're not going to be here every day for the rest of the world. We're all dying at some point. And what's the impact that we're going to make when we have that opportunity to have that impact? And so those are the three things.
That's crazy. Those are very different words than I was thinking of. But what you're kind of saying is, self identity is a huge one. Kind of thinking like, who am I? Who am I right now when I'm not able to be in school? Who am I right now when I'm not able to do the things I love? When I'm not able to be out and hang out with friends and do all the things I do in a normal lifestyle? Who am I? That's really interesting to hear that from your perspective. For me, I was kind of thinking perseverance, persistence. We've gone through so much and we've had to kind of persevere this whole time. So that's kind of what I was thinking. To represent the year, we mentioned earlier, you've spoken to many people. You've spoken in schools. You've done a TED talk. I think that's really interesting. I've watched your TED talk and I really valued what you said there. So while you spoke to us at Nagel, you talked about some of your experiences in the past as a school teacher. You talked about some of your experiences while speaking. So I want to ask you, like, is there anything you want to say?
Absolutely. So if there's one thing, there was a guy, I'll never forget him. His name was Stefan Talley. He was one of my best friends. Actually, my best friend at the time, he was his older brother. He died of cancer. And I remember going to what ended up being his deathbed. I didn't know it was going to be his deathbed, but I knew he was in a bad way. As I was sitting there, I asked him, if I'm going to speak on your behalf one day, what would you want me to say? And I remember he looked at me and he said, don't sweat the small stuff. And I was like, don't sweat the small stuff. What are you talking about? I mean, you're dying of cancer, right? You can say whatever. And he said, all day long, people come in here and they sit with me while I can't get up. And they talk about these things that are getting on their nerves and they're bothering them and bogging them down while I can't get up. Like these people who can get up and walk around, they're over here talking to me and they have the ability to get up and walk out of this room and I don't. And I'm sitting here listening to them complain about their position and situation. And I thought to myself, like, man, how many times have I sweated the small stuff? How many times have I allowed the environment to bring me down? Like, how many times have I had the ability to get up and walk and take it for granted? And this individual, I ended up speaking at his funeral and sharing this same story. And so if I have one thing to say, it's speak love to yourself. Find the gold in you. Like there's a silver lining. If you have COVID, if you don't, if you got kids, you don't got kids, you have an ability to play your sport. You don't have ability to play your sport. If we're going to be quarantined again, we don't know, right? But in the meantime, find the love that's within you and share from that space. Because each and every one of us, I mean, just the fact that we were born, we're a 1 in a million chance. The fact that we made it to this world, right? And find something about you in your life that makes you beautiful, that allows you to be special, and that changes the world, because we all have a special light.
Wow, I mean, I don't even have any words to respond to that. I mean, that was really well said, and yeah, I really respect what you just said, and I think it reflects upon what you do for a job. Obviously, your company Speak Love, you go around and speak to others, teaching others about self love and self importance. I think that's great. So I think that this is a really important thing to talk about. My next topic, the key components of Speak Love, as you have mentioned, it's about privilege and preference. So when I first got to hear you speak, you talked about all the things that make us different as humans. Everybody's different. Everybody's the same, but everybody's different, if that makes sense. Whether it's race, gender, religion, we all have these things that make us different. They gives us privileges. Positive. They can turn out negative. You talked about how we are all part of one collective group, which is humans. So you talked about how we can build these preferences and opinions on other people without even knowing them. So how do you talk about privilege and preference in front of others in order to give them a better understanding of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I do as an ethnic minority male in the United States of America is I recognize my privileges. So I'm Christian, right? Just being a Christian, I get all my holidays off, right? I'm a man, right? Just being a man, there's certain expectations and biases that come with being a man. I'm also a big guy, right? So there's also a level of special privilege I get for just being of a bigger stature, right? And so I have these privileges that I walk around with all the time. And in these places where I have privilege, I have the opportunity to show how beautiful you are. So where I have privilege and people trust me, right? I have the same opportunity to trust others from that level of privilege. You look, either you have or you don't have a level of privilege. And when we recognize these privileges that we've been given, we now get to recognize that in some places there's an inequality and what I like to call it an unfairness. And us with that level of privilege have an opportunity, just like me as a Christian, I have an opportunity to highlight, promote, and support Judaism. Now, I'm not a Jewish person, right? But there are other people who are Jewish who don't get their days off, that have days that people don't even understand. Speaking Hebrew, people don't even understand the language of Hebrew. And there's a fear that anything different from me is bad. That's not true. And I get to use my privilege to point that out in this show, how we're all human. No matter what you believe, where you were born, what color you are, we're all human. Whatever gender you have, whoever you love, we're all human. We can start from that basis, and then we can enjoy our differences.
Wow, I mean, you talk about these privileges. We can all have things that other people might not respect about us, but I feel like what you're saying is everybody deep down has some sort of privilege that we can use to lift up others. I can use my privilege with different aspects of life to help you. You can use your privileges in different aspects of life to help me. So that was my final question for you about Speak Love. But if you've seen my show, I always end the show with a game. So I have some Would You Rather cards. This is gonna be a little bit of like a rapid fire Would You Rather question. You ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Would you rather, for your wedding, be registered at Subway or be registered at the Chuck E. Cheese prize counter?
Now, I just want to know, whoever wrote this, no one gets registered at Subway or Chuck E. Cheese. But Chuck E. Cheese pizza is horrible. Like, I don't know if you've ever had it in your life, but they put cardboard in front of these kids and they go crazy, right? Put me at Subway all day.
Would you rather have self-tying shoes or self-flossing teeth?
Oh, now, self-tying shoes. I'm a big dude. Sometimes it's hard to get all the way down there. You know what I'm saying? So like there's certain times where we struggle in that area. So I'm gonna go ahead and have self-tying shoes.
All right. Would you rather wake up every day in a new city or wake up every day with a new face? I found this one really interesting.
Yeah, I find it very weird. Definitely new city. Let me go ahead, because
Me
if you
too.
had a new face, so the cool thing about having a new face is you could do some dumb stuff and not be in trouble for it, be like, that wasn't me, right? But then
Yeah.
I couldn't go to another city, right? You know what I'm saying? And so with my job, I travel all over.
Yeah.
You know, I'm booking planes all the time. Well, actually, pre-COVID, I'm booking planes all the time. Now I'm finding time on Zoom, right? So it's a little different. But I got to tell you, I would definitely like to travel. So I'm going to different cities, and I kind of live that life. I'm in a different city almost every week.
Yeah, that would be for me too. Interest in travel, interest in seeing other places. That would be kind of fun. I feel like to wake up every day and explore a new place. Would you rather eat 14 full sticks of butter or eat the contents of a vacuum bag?
Oof, it's a tough one.
They're both
You
pretty
know,
bad.
yeah. Now I'm a big guy, and you don't get this big without liking butter. So I'm gonna go butter. I've seen what's in a vacuum bag. That butter is pasteurized, so I believe it's safe. We're going with the butter.
Would you rather have 5 lives like in a video game or be able to jump like Mario in the game Mario Brothers?
So here's the thing, right? So in a video game, you play with that within a half hour. So you could die 5 times in a half hour. But in real life, like I work a lot with elderly too. Some folks are like 100 years old and they don't have any more friends. And like I know for me, as much as I'd like to live 5 lives, I'd have to go with the other one.
Okay. All right. Would you rather go on a road trip with Albert Einstein or a road trip with Vincent van Gogh?
Oh, so the interesting thing about Van Gogh is that he had a thing for this lady, and I don't know what happened because I wasn't around at this time, but he cut his ear off. I would actually really be interested to find out, why Van Gogh acted the way he did. Now, Albert Einstein was a great inventor, but I don't know as much about his life, right? And so Vincent van Gogh, I feel like we kind of memorialize Vincent van Gogh because he was in poverty until he died, and then all of a sudden his paintings were sold for thousands and millions of dollars. But before that, like no one really knew the genius of him. Albert Einstein, I feel like we know the genius, and I feel like he kind of lived the life of Albert Einstein. So I'm going Vincent van Gogh.
Last question. Would you rather have the ability to zoom in with your vision or with your hearing?
Now, the cool thing about zooming in with your hearing is you can hear what other people are saying, sometimes about you, right? And that could give you a level of knowledge on how to actually operate and act. But if I could zoom in with my eyes. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been to the top of Carew Tower or if you've been on vacation where you see those like telescope eyes and you pay a couple quarters, right? And you could zoom in like super duper far. Now,
Yeah.
the one thing that's super cool about that is you have the opportunity to see in a way that your eyes don't allow you to see. I mean, just think. I mean, I could see a candle like 3 miles away, but I can't see who's holding it. And so what I could see then also, like when I'm flying, because I fly a lot, I could look down and see the people, and then when I'm on stage, a lot of times I'm in arenas, right? So in an arena, I can't see anybody's face. I can hear great, but I can't see your face. I would love to be able to see the people that are being able to be touched by our organization, by I Am Speak Love or Nick Jackson Speaks. And I would love to also be able to see while I'm driving things that are far, far, far away. I'd love to stand on top of a mountain and be able to see the little animals that are all around me.
Wow. All right. So you would like to zoom in with your vision. Hopefully we learn more about you with your brother. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I want to thank you so much for speaking to me. This has been such a pleasure getting to, hear thoughts from your perspective and just really talk to you. So, I mean, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, it was an honor. It was an honor to bend your ear. You know what I'm saying, Ben? It was an honor to bend your ear in the moment that I had. But also for all the other people that are listening, Ben has done something special. He has a passion and he stepped into his passion. So many of us, Ben, we have a dream or we have a passion and we put it on the shelf. We're like, that's what I did when I was a dreamer. But now that I don't dream anymore, I now do these other things that I have to do. And one day, hopefully, I will get to do what I'm called to do. Ben, you are walking in something special, and it's an honor to support you because I know you're going to inspire other people to do great things. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. All right.
No problem.
Thanks for coming on.
Have a good one.
Huge thanks to Nick Jackson for being a part of today's broadcast. Until next time, I'm Ben Hartong. Thanks for letting me bend your ear. See you next year.